Welcome to the Chess Gurukul 52-week program. As you all know that Grandmaster R.B. Ramesh will be the mentor for the session. Topic: League of Bishops. Timing 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And here are the do's and don'ts. Please listen this carefully. Use checkbox to give your answer to the question asked by the mentor only. Please do not familiarize with each other. Please do not point out each other in the chat box. Just use for question asked by sir to give answer in that. Use Q&A box in case you want to ask any question during the session. We will take in the end of the session. Avoid spamming the chat box with unnecessary comment. I am saying again, avoid spamming the chat box with unnecessary comment. Do not put your question again and again in the chat box. In the Q&A box. We'll take one by one each and every question.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows this. Grandmaster R.B. Ramesh.
Thank you, Nitesh.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Yeah, so before we begin, request to everyone, please change the chat box message to all panelists. So currently for some, it is set to all panelists and attendees. Please change it to all panelists. So that way, whatever you type, it won't disturb others. Okay, so let me share the screen. Yeah. Okay, so today it's about playing with two bishops. And in the dream room, I have already done few episodes on this topic. Okay, so Ayush is asking, I have not got any puzzles or examples since episode 23. What should I do? I think in many of the episodes, close to 100 episodes, there must have been puzzles or examples already given. And around 50 or 60 more puzzles and examples are pending. And we are in the process of uploading all those as well. So soon you should be getting for all the episodes. But I think there should be more than 23 episodes, Ayush. So just go through different videos and you should be able to see them. Okay, fine. So please make it to all panelists, not all panelists and attendees. Okay, so about the two bishops. So those of you who have not seen the dream rooms, let us explain the main principles once more. I will copy paste the. You're not able to see the video? One minute. Someone is saying is not able to see the video. One minute. Okay. So let me send the text part now. Please hold on. So my request, please don't type anything now. I'm going to type something. So I've sent the two bishop principles. Please read the principles. Can you all see the chessboard? So please read the principles. Okay, so I will just quickly read the whole principles. Okay, so one, you have to restrict opponent knight with pawns. Okay, don't give outpost to the opponent knight. This is very important. Okay, when you have two bishops, try to go to endgame. Double bishops are good, more powerful in endgame than in middle game. So when you have two bishop advantage, try to exchange the queens, go to endgame. And then pushing rook pawns, fourth point, pushing rook pawns to gain space. If you have two bishops, you can play like h4, h5, a4, a5, like this. That will restrict your opponent. Okay. And the fifth point, increase distance between opponent pawn chains. It means now the distance between the queen side and the king side pawn structure is only one file, right? So if we can exchange the white c pawn for the d pawn, if we remove the c2 and d6 pawns, then the distance will be two files, right? So try to increase the distance between opponent pawn chain. So you have to exchange such pawns. You should not exchange h pawn for h pawn. That won't increase the distance between his pawn chains. Okay. So the distance between the b and d pawn is only one file. So if you can exchange either the b pawn or the d pawn, that is a good exchange for white. Okay. And then the sixth point, passed pawn. If you have a passed pawn along with two bishops, it is even better. Then in the middle game and early end game, you can pull back your bishops. You don't have to keep the bishop in a very active square. You can have the bishops passively, like here it is on f1. Okay, so you don't need it in an outpost or in the middle of the board. Later it can come out. It should not block other pieces. Okay, the eighth point, you can anytime exchange one bishop or both the bishops and transpose to other endgames. So it does not mean that if you have two bishop advantage, till the game is over, you should try to retain two bishop advantage. It is not necessary. Okay, you can exchange one bishop or two bishops with good reasons. And then ninth point. So bishops are good when there are no central pawns. Okay, so here if you see, white does not have e pawn or the d pawn, right? White does not have e pawn or d pawn. So without the central pawns, the bishop is better. If you have a pawn on d3 or e4, it will restrict the bishop. Okay, so without central pawns, the bishops are good. Then 10th point, don't fix the pawn structure, keep them flexible. So you should not fix them, you should not lock the pawn structure. You should be in a position where you can push pawns forward. They should not be fixed or blocked. And then 11th point, so choose the color wisely for your pieces. So here we have two bishops. Black has only one bishop, that is a dark color bishop. So we should not keep pieces in black squares. We should keep our pieces in white squares. So if you see, okay, the pieces are in white squares, right? So this is the right way. You should choose the correct color for your pieces. Because opponent has black bishop, we put it like this. Okay, and then the last point, sometimes you can have bad pawn structure. Okay, when you have two bishops, if you have bad pawn structure, don't worry. Okay, with bad pawn structure also, the two bishops will be very good. Okay, so these are the 12 points we have. Okay, so try to understand these principles and apply them. Okay, fine. So let us go to some examples now. We already have an endgame. And so Rishi Shah is asking, if opponent's knight is already having a good outpost, should we give up on our bishop for the knight? So here if you see the square e5, it's an outpost, right? So he can come knight e5 and sit in an outpost. So Rishi is asking, in such a case, can we exchange the bishop for knight? Okay, that depends. We will see. Okay, we cannot give a blind answer for everything. We have to take case by case. Okay, fine. So now we know the general principles. So what are the moves we have? Okay. So Dakshan is asking, send the principles again. I'm sending it again. Okay, you can copy paste it. Okay, so let's think about the position. Don't see only one move. Try to see three moves as usual. Three moves for white. Okay, Dirav is asking, if we push pawns in the center, we will gain more space. Then why push rook pawns? Center, we have to play with pieces, ideally. Okay, instead of with pawns. I already mentioned that if you have pawns in the central files, it will make your bishops passive. Okay, so without the central pawns, bishops are good. So when you don't have pawns in the center, you control the center with pieces. Just look at the knight on d5. If you have a pawn on d5, it makes a big difference, right? Having a knight on d5 is great. Three moves. Okay, some of you like bd3, but I don't like bd3. One, generally don't develop your piece in a square where it can be immediately attacked. Okay, so if you play bd3, he can come knight e5 or knight c5, and the bishop will be under attack immediately. Okay, so generally don't develop a piece in a square where it can be immediately attacked by the opponent. Okay, so some of the moves I like are, now which pieces are bad? The rook is bad, right? And we should treat this position as opening only because we still have some pieces undeveloped. Okay, the bishop is undeveloped. Okay, so these two are not very well placed. Okay, so one move is h4 that develops the rook. Guys, please hold on 1 minute. Please hold on, I'll be back. Sorry guys, I'm back. Okay, so one, the rook on h1 is not developed yet. Okay, so you can play h4 and this will actually develop our rook in a way. It will make our rook active. And what about the bishop? If you want to develop the bishop, it is better to do it to e2, not d3, because knight e5, knight c5 will not come with attack. Okay, but be2, the problem is it can block the e file. Okay, so if you want to play rook e1 later, the bishop will be blocking the path. And I already mentioned you don't need the bishop to be active. So if there is no rook h1, I would say the best place for the bishop is f1 only. It won't block other pieces. Okay, so if you want to develop, bishop e2 is fine. Now the other thing you could do is king b1 because you don't want to keep the king in front of the rook. Okay, so you can play king b1. You'll keep the king in a white square. Then the other option is to play c3. So with c3, you are restricting the bishop g7 diagonal. Okay, and taking control of some black squares. So these are the moves I like. One is h4, two bishop e2, third move king b1, fourth move c3. Okay, so in the game he played h4. Now, why he chose h4 over other moves, c3 or king b1? Why he chose h4? Okay. Okay, many say to open the position and so on. But let us see, let us look at it like this. Now, c3 or king b1, does it improve any piece? It doesn't improve any piece. Okay, king b1 slightly improves the king position. Okay, but h4, it is kind of developing a rook, right? So which is more important? Improving a piece which is already safe, or kind of developing a piece which is not developed? You understand the difference? Pranav, change to all panelists, please. Okay, so play knight c6. Now, when you have a move like h4, you should not rush to take h into g5 or play h5. Okay, you should keep options. There is no need to play h5 or hg5 in this move. Okay, you can keep it as a threat. Threat is better than execution. Okay, so how you can improve the position? Why did he go knight c6? No, knight e5 can be done without knight c6 also. Okay, so he's threatening knight d4, f5 pawn and the c2 pawn. Okay, so just spend few seconds asking this question after every opponent move, why he played the move, and then you will find. So he wants to come knight d4. That is one of the main ideas. Okay, so white played c3. So you see, he did not play c3 and h4. He plays h4 and c3. h4 develops the rook, which is more important. c3, though it doesn't stop knight d4 directly, it is raising control of that square. Okay, why knight f6? After every open move, you have to ask this. Why? So he is exchanging our strongest piece. The knight d5 is very strong, right? Now there is one more principle which I have not typed earlier, but this is not a hard and fast principle. One is when you have the extra knight. So we have bishop and knight versus two bishops. And there is a third minor piece on the board, the extra knight for both. Okay. Now the question is, should we keep that extra knight or should we exchange the knight and go for pure double bishop versus bishop and knight? This is an important question. Okay. Generally, it is believed if you have two bishops, okay, it's better to keep one more knight. Why? Because the knight can do what the bishops cannot do. Okay, you get more possibilities. Understood? So if you have two bishops, it is better to keep the extra knight rather than exchange. But if you feel by exchanging the knight and then in the resulting two bishop versus bishop and knight, you have a clear advantage, then you can exchange. But if the advantage is not very clear, then it is better to keep the knight. Understood? So here white is worried about the e5 outpost. So now if he takes knight into f6, bishop into f6, and then he comes bishop e5, exchange the bishop, and then play knight e5. That knight e5 will be a monster. Okay, so he doesn't want to do that. And the drawback of knight f6 is it is blocking bishop g7 diagonal. So black lost some control on the e5 square. Okay, now if he comes knight e5, bishop e5, d e5, you'll have doubled pawns. Okay, so that is another reason why we should not take knight f6. But the problem is if we move the knight to some passive square, he will come knight e4. Okay, so if you play like knight e3 or something, he can get knight e4. So that already tells what we should be doing. So by elimination, we eliminate knight e3 because of knight e4 and knight f6 because of bishop f6 and bishop e5. So we find knight b6. Now he doesn't have time for knight e4. He played rook d8. Now He wants to play knight e4. No, Jeet. If you play b e2, he has knight e4 still. Okay, so played f3. So this is restriction. Okay, you're restricting the e4 square from the right. Okay, what to do? What is he trying to do now? What will be his next move? What will black like to do? Okay, so it's saying trying to ruin our pawn structure. Now, should white allow it or not allow it? Gf3 exchange. Should white allow Gf3 exchange or not? What do you think? So if you see that principle, you can have bad pawn structure. Okay, actually I feel bad pawn structure helps the side with two bishops. Okay, so don't worry about Gf3. Okay, after Gf3, what is happening? The G file is getting opened, correct? After Gf3, the G file is getting opened. So who will gain control of that G file is important. Okay, so that is one thing you have to consider. But what will be black's main idea? So when you have bad pawn structure, Sandeep is asking, why have bad pawn structure will help the bishop's pair? If you have bad pawn structure, it means more files are opened. Okay, so more files and diagonals are open that our rooks and bishops can exploit. That's why bad pawn structure will help two bishops. So what he will like to do, he will like to play knight h5 and then bishop e5. Maybe after gf3. Okay, gf3, knight h5. If you play bishop h2, bishop e5. And then he will have good bind on the dark squares. Isn't it? I'll just show a sample variation. Okay, suppose I play some more. Okay, you do this. Now let's say I do this. You see how dark square control. I'm just showing some moves, so you will understand what I'm trying to say. Now just imagine the next move, the knight comes here. Okay. Okay, here you are getting the pawn. But in general, what I want to show is this type of thing. Some kind of dark square bind. And then he comes. Okay, he will have some good bind on the dark squares. Okay, so we should be careful about such stuff. None of this is forced, but black will ideally try to take control of the dark squares like this. Okay. So white played h5. You understand this move now? One, it stops knight h5 and bishop e5. Okay, and what is this h4, h5? Pushing the rook pawn to gain space. Now you see that black's king side is cramped. Do you realize that? Do you feel it? Okay. Now Jicha is asking, but he's moving pawns only, not developing pieces. Is it good? h4, c3, f3, h5. So Jicha is asking a good question. He's saying, white is not playing pieces. He's wasting so much time with pawn moves. But what did black achieve in the meantime? What did black achieve? Did black develop 4 pieces and white was making 4 pawn moves? The rook c8 moved from c8 to d8. The rook became passive. Knight a5 came to c6, right? And knight d7 came to f6. Okay, blocking bishop g7. Okay, so black was not developed. See, if you are making 4 pawn moves and your opponent is developing 4 pieces, then obviously what you have done is stupid. But here we are already in the end game, and with h4, h5 we improved our rook position. More importantly, we are gaining space, and also the h6 pawn is fixed. So later if you go something like bishop f4 or something, and then rook g1, okay, the h pawn could also be in trouble. Most importantly, we have stopped knight h5 bishop e5 plan. That's a very important counter play for black. Okay. So we took. What to do now? Arnav, please type one message one time. Don't keep repeating multiple times. Arnav Muralidhar. Don't type the same message multiple times. Okay, here the next 3 moves, what White played, it's fantastic. This whole game I like a lot. I have seen this game many times. Even when I was a player, I have seen this game, and I enjoyed the game so much. He found a setup where all the black pieces are restricted and white pieces are good. Okay, so let us say I give you 5 moves. What you will do in the 5 moves? Make a plan. At the end of 5 moves, all your pieces should be good and all black pieces should be restricted. So what would you do with 5 moves? That is how you come up with plans. You should imagine where my pieces and pawns should be and then try to achieve it. Okay, Jeet Shah says rook g1, rook g2 with bishop h4, but I will take knight into h5. If you double rooks on the h file, g file, I'll keep king h8 and knight into h5. That is the problem. So Yashas is asking, if we go to a rook versus rook endgame from this position, will white still have advantage? But why do you think about those things now? You have so many other pieces. No need to imagine such things. So far, I have not received any convincing answer. Nope. Nobody has given the correct solution so far. So Vedant, you are asking, should we prepare for tournament 1 year ago? Nobody will prepare for tournament 1 year ahead. Okay, Karandeep, fine. Okay, so let us see. Okay. what he did. Okay, this is his first move. Now think and try to find out what white is trying to do. No, Vedant, forget about all this stuff, okay? Focus on improving your game. Don't worry about imaginary situations. Strong players, they don't think about tournaments. They think about how to improve their chess. Okay, how to become better players. That is what strong players worry about. They don't prepare for tournaments 1 year ahead. Try to find the plan. What is white trying to do? Yeah, here Panchal, very good. Sandeep, you too, you are typing the same thing million times. Please don't do that. Okay, Neo Binu, you say your concentration is shifting from chess to other things. What should I do? You have to decide how much chess is important for you. I cannot take the decision for you. See, if you play, why he played bg2? Definitely not to keep the bishop bad. Okay, so he wants to play f4. But when he plays f4, what will happen? Bishop g2 will become good, but bishop g3 will become bad. Okay, so what he will do with bishop g3? You should find a better square for the bishop g3. And f4 will take away the e5 outpost. But f4 will weaken the e4 and g4 squares. Okay, so you will see after f4, the g4 and e4 are weak, and the rook is tied to defend the h5 pawn for now. So if you double the rooks on the g5, you will take knight h5. So you have to find a solution for knight h5 also, and also the g4 e4 squares. So f4, bishop f3. So bishop f3 will defend h5 pawn, free the rook, takes control of e4 g4 squares, but bishop g3 becomes bad. It can go to h4. Okay, and put indirect pressure on the e7 pawn, and then you can double the rooks wherever, whichever file you want, g file or the e file. Okay, so you see how he makes plan. So why did he go knight b8? He wants to come knight b d7 and dislodge the knight, because this knight is killing the two rooks. Knight b6 is killing the two rooks. He's not able to come rook c8 and create some activity. So either he wants to exchange that knight or drive away the knight. The b pawn under attack. Now knight d7. So should we exchange the knight or not? So generally, as I mentioned earlier, the side with two bishops, it is good idea to keep the extra knight, because the knight can do things which the bishop cannot do. Okay. So Yashas, don't ask imaginary questions. You are asking, should white maintain his double bishop advantage or not? Is that the question now for before white here, to keep the double bishop or not? The question is, the knight b6 is under attack. Should we exchange the knight or should we not exchange the knight? So when there is a clear problem in front of us, if you are going to worry about imaginary problems, then imaginary problems most likely will never happen in your game. And what are problems you face in front of you, you will not solve them. But Yashas Pesi, the question is, you're saying the bishop g3 is not active. But is that the real problem? Or your knight b6 is hanging under attack? Which is the problem? Your bishop g3 passive now, or your knight b6 under attack? So you are worried about unimportant things and wasting your time and concentration. So now the question is, should we exchange the knight or not? If not, then where should the knight go? That is the question. So he came here. Okay, what to do? Make a list. Don't become emotional. Sandeep, I already mentioned. Please type one move one time. Make a list. Otherwise, you will see one move and you will play that move. So you should make a list of moves, okay? Don't see one move. There are many interesting moves in this position. One is bishop f3. It will support the h5, take control of g4 square. And if you want to double rooks, if you want to bring the rook to the g file, the bishop will not be blocking the rook. So bishop f3 is one move, one decent move. Okay. The second decent move, you can play rook h e1. Many of you suggested that. But what is the problem with rook h e1? Can someone tell me? I think majorly wrong with rook. Okay, one is knight at h5, the pawn. The other is you may want to keep the rook on the g file. And if you play the rook to e file, then if you go again rook g1, you'll be wasting time. Okay, so what other moves? Bishop of 3, rook h e1. Knight d2, many of you are saying, but that looks very passive to me. Why move the knight on c4? It's not under attack. Okay. So he played bishop h4. Okay, now if you come knight e4, the e7 pawn will be lost. And the exchange also. Okay, so now the knight f6 cannot move. Bishop e7 will be coming. Okay, so and even if knight e4 comes, it won't come with a tempo. So you see how he is playing pieces where the pieces are not blocking each other. They are freely playing active roles and attacking different targets. So now knight h5 could be an idea. The e7 is defended, but rook e8 is still very passive. Beautiful, no? So one important thing, he has not decided where he's going to put the rooks. Okay, and he found a very nice way to improve his pieces without deciding the rook position. I'm sorry, I made the move very quickly. Now the knight can come to c6 and d4 if required. Okay, so Sandeep Bisht is very obsessed with the move. From here, he's telling b4, b4, b4 many times. b4 is simply weakening your queen side. The knight c5 is an outpost only if you don't have the b pawn or the d pawn. Okay, you can kick the knight on c5 anytime you want by playing b4. So knight c5 is not really an outpost. The knight f6 is an outpost because you cannot kick the knight f6 away. Okay, b4 when you play, you are weakening so many squares, c3 pawn, and then you will get rook c8. You are just weakening your position too much. Okay, so Ragita, you are saying why not king h7, rook g8, bh8, but then he will hit the e7 pawn, like rook d1. Okay, now what to do? Knight e4 has been played. Is there any threat with knight ce4? No threats. So you don't have to worry about any immediate threats. So you have to improve the pieces. Which piece is not well placed? The rook h1. Now you have choice. You can go to g1 or e1. So that is what you have to decide now. Like this. So what is it doing? So rook h1 also has its own advantages. Now one sample variation is if you come rook h e1, attacking the knight, d5, you come knight c6, you will come rook c8, and if you try to win a pawn like this, now what will white do? Sorry, what will black do? Yeah, you play knight c3, bc3, rook c3 check, and rook into f3. Okay, so unnecessarily what we are doing, we are making his pieces active. So rook g1. Now you might think the knight e4 is a good knight, but actually it is not. Okay, generally it is not a good thing if two knights are defending each other because both knights cannot move. And that is the situation here. Knight f6 cannot move. Okay, so don't disturb such pieces. So rook at g1 is simply improving the rook. Okay. Now what to do? There is some small variation you have to calculate here. So one simple option is rook g2 idea, rook g1. Okay, simply doubling the rook. Okay, but there is one small calculation possible. That's what he did in the game. Some forcing things. Dakshani, I will tell at the right time, okay? Please have patience. No issues. Okay, he brought the knight into the game. And if you see the logic, it's very simple. Now, when the pawn is on d6, okay, when you come knight c6, rook c8, you can come knight d4. But after knight d4, the knight is not going anywhere. The f7 pawn and the f5 pawn, they are controlling knight d4 squares. Okay, but when he played d5, what became weak? Right? So he immediately tries to take advantage of it. If he had not played d5, he would not have played knight c6. Okay. Now, what if rook c8 here? If rook c8, what can we do? Yeah, so if he plays rook c8, it's a blunder. Check. And this idea bishop of 6. If knight to e4, bishop e7, it's over. If d4 or rook e4, bishop of 6, it's over. Okay, so the correct move order is important. So he played rook d6. So even though normally what was happening is whenever we play knight c6, black will improve the rook by playing rook c8. Okay, but here he is not able to improve the rook with rook c8. He is keeping the rook on d6, which is very passive square, hiding behind the pawn. You see how alert white was, right? Now this also prevents king h7, bishop h8. When you double rooks on the g file, he cannot go king h7, bh8 because f7 will be hanging. One more knight into the game. Yeah, now the move is very nice. King f8. Now just look at all the pieces. Beautiful, no? Is anyone blocking others' path? Is anyone disturbing anyone else? The rooks, nobody is disturbing the rooks. Bishop of 3, nobody disturbing bishop of 3. Knight e5, nobody disturbing knight e5. Bishop h4, no one disturbing. Beautiful, no? And they are all attacking different weaknesses. The knight is attacking f7, bishop h4 attacking e7 and f6, bishop f3 attacking e4 and d5, the rooks attacking g7, g8. So this is very important point. Our pieces should all attack different weaknesses, not same weakness. Okay? Just compare the black pieces and white pieces. Horrible black pieces. Okay, now think. Now this is an important position because with rook g1 you have improved all your pieces, but still there is no win. So you have to find some good way to continue. Subham Saha, please don't type moves in Q&A. Okay, guys, I'm going to type the name of the players who played this game in the chat window. Okay. Smiran versus Sakev. They both are very strong players. Okay, so the move he played is slightly difficult move. Okay, some of you are suggesting king b1. Computer likes that move. A3, computer likes the move. He did not play both of them. Sandeep, please change to all panelists. Many times, Sandeep Best, you are getting very excited and you are typing whenever you want to type moves, you want to show it to everyone. Please don't do that. Keep it to all panelists. Don't disturb others, please. Okay, not king c2, not king b1, not a3. All these moves are fine. He played knight g4. This is not the best move in the position, but it is tying him up completely. And many times you can go for f6 breakthrough. Sometimes like bishop e4, d4, f6 kind of thing. But you should not rush this because after bishop e4, d4, you are activating both the black rooks. So you have to be extremely careful. You should not make the two bad rooks into good rooks in a hurry. Okay. Okay, and now he played the move king b1, just getting out of the file. All b4 threads, some sacrifice on c3, everything has been eliminated. Okay, Roshisha, fine. All others, no. Arnav, you too, you're typing multiple times. Okay. So you see, is it easy to play this position with white or no? Or the moves you are suggesting is being played or something else is being played most of the time? You should honestly introspect like this, okay? Am I able to find the moves which the strong player is playing? Or I find some move, but he's playing something else. These are very important. So don't think once you have advantage, it is easily won. No, it is very difficult. Okay, it's very very difficult to convert an advantage into a win. So you should be extremely alert till the end. Okay, if you're moving one or two moves here and there, it is fine. But most of the time, it should not be happening like I see some move, but they are playing some other moves. Okay, then either our skill needs to be improved, our chess needs to be improved, our concentration should be better. Okay. So knight e3 was played. And this is one of the ideas of knight g4, apart from f6. So the threat is knight into d5, rook d5, bishop e4. This is one threat. So he went back. Okay, Nirav, that complications will not work in black's favor. That is why he did not do it. Now he played a very nice move. Many of you found it. Now simple exchange. Now he has problems. Let us see one by one. If bishop f6, rook g8 mate. So one eliminated. If knight f6, rook g7, 2 eliminated. If ef6, bishop g7 is dead. Okay, and you will win the d5 pawn. Okay, 3 eliminated. So only move rook f6. And now, so here if you see, he exchanged the two bishops. He did not try to say, I have two bishop advantage, I have two bishop advantage. Today's topic is two bishop advantage. So throughout the game, I'll play with two bishops. No. On the board, you have to look at the position and take decisions. Why he gave the bishop? Because of the small tactic. Now rook f5 means bg4. So he saw this tactics. So from this we can learn a very important thing, that in endgames also you should be good in calculation. Okay. So he cannot take the pawn. So he went back. But we have to be careful here because it is opposite color bishops and they have good drawing tendencies. But if you look at the white pieces, they are still very active. All the white pieces. Okay. F6. So double the pawns, but we are using the same tactic. If bishop f6, rook g8 mate. If knight f6, rook into g7. Okay, if rook f6, we win the exchange. So ef6. Now the bishop is killed. Okay, now many of you are suggesting a move which is very emotional, but he did not play it. Don't be emotional. If you see a good move, keep looking for a better one. This is not a blitz game. Take your time. But anyways, position is lost for now. Now everyone wanted to play, most of you wanted to play f5 to kill the bishop. Okay, but he wants to come knight f5. He doesn't want to use the f5 for the pawn, but he wants to use it for the knight. Vedant, what are you trying to do? Vedant Agarwal, please don't use the chat window for stupid stuff. He played rook c5 to stop knight f5. Okay, so rook d3 was possible, and I will tell what will happen to rook d3 later, but I wanted to find the best move here for white. There are few interesting moves available for white, but there's a very nice move, not easy to find. I want you guys to find. So most of you like bishop e4 or bishop g4 to play knight f5. In the game, bishop g4 was played. Okay, now let's go back and see what happens to rook d3. Okay, if rook d3, you cannot play knight f5, it just exchange a lot of pieces. So you play rook e1. Okay, now you can. So when he plays rook c5, and this is a good square for the rook, right? c5 is better than c8. Okay, now you have this superb move. Okay, idea bishop c2, knight f5. Okay, with bishop e4, you'll be blocking your rook. Here the point is, after bishop c2, knight f5, you are threatening rook e8 check also. With bishop e4, that won't be possible. Okay, so this bishop d1 idea, he should have done even here. Yashas, please change to all panelists. I don't know why some of you keep getting so tempted to change to all panelists and attend this. Very simple instruction. Okay, so he played bg4, but bd1 was better. Okay, had he played bd1, bc2, and then knight f5, you are not blocking your g file. But what he thought was, anyway, that will take 3 moves, and he had a similar plan. It goes b4. No, Gyani, that will just weaken the structure. Okay. So he wants to create some weaknesses on the near the white king. So white simply doesn't want to allow that. And now knight f5. Okay. Yeah. So now we played bishop h3. So it is also three moves. bd1, bc2, knight f5, three moves. bg4, knight f5, bh3, three moves. Okay. So he thought this is also winning. Now looks like the game is over, right? But unfortunately, the game is not yet over. Black is able to put up some fight. Okay, Sandeep, if the board is not visible, maybe you should log out and log in again. Now white played a move which is not easy. Okay, so far I don't see any right moves. Okay, so um, again 93 is, I don't understand Ashwin. 93 rook e3, what do you want to do? I don't see the point. What are you trying to achieve? You give a piece and then take it back, and you're making all the black pieces active. No, that is not correct. Okay, so Gyani, he has been having some doubt and is insisting on it. So he's telling why not b4. Okay, rook c3 and then knight f5. He has seen this tactic, so he wants to play it. And black gets good counterplay. f4 pawn is under attack. b3 is coming. Knight e4, knight c3, or knight c4, knight a3. The knight is also joining the game. And the black has good compensation. That's why he did not play it. Okay, so played rook g3. Now this is not an easy move at all. What is he doing here? There's no good way to save the bishop. If the bishop was on c2, this problem would not have come. Okay, so what he's doing, he wanted to win the piece. Now he's not able to win it. So he simply accepts it. Okay, so this adjustment in the middle of the game is very important. Okay, when you have some high target, suddenly you feel you are not able to get advantage of it, then you settle down for a lesser target. Okay, so the rook d3 is a very strong piece. Now we are exchanging an opponent's strong piece. Now once you remove one pair of rook, okay, the bishop g7 is still dead with knight f5 and pawn f6. And the rook knight e8 cannot move. The black king cannot move. So basically the knight, king and bishop cannot move. Okay, only the rook c5 will be active. Okay, against three of our pieces. And you also have an outside pass pawn. Okay. Mm. Yeah, so Boris is asking, can we go rook c1 here? This is also fine. He will take rook c1 and then bishop h8. So the knight can get out of the board. And then you can play this move. And this is very strong because here he is practically a piece down. Okay, and you have outside pass pawn and the pawn will be lost. So this is also winning. But rook g3 is also good enough. But bishop h3, rook d3 probably underestimated. Okay, so now what to do? Vedant Agarwal, what is the problem? Where is suddenly saying hello all the time? Do you want to say something? So far, nobody has given the correct move. So far, no one has given the right move. So A3, A4, Rook E3, Rook F3 have all been suggested. That was not played. And Rook G4 is very passive. So you see, with Rook E3, everyone was tempted because Rook E8, King E8, Knight G7, you can get 2 pieces for Rook. But even though you get 2 pieces for Rook, and once he takes Rook into F4, okay, how will be the white pieces? They are not coordinating well, right? They're all like stuck in a corner, and in dangerous positions. So he's threatening to go Rook D8, and then you can take Knight into G7, King into G7, Rook into E8. That is one threat. See, he became a pawn down, but look at the activity of pieces. Now, as I said, Knight G7 is a threat. Sometimes you can go Knight D6 also. You have to do some small calculation. Okay, so now not BG4 as some suggested. He played Knight D6. Now Rook E8 mate is threatened. And if King E7, what will happen? If King E7, you do this. This is the point. And you see big mating attack is coming. Idea Rook F6 check and Rook into F3, discovered check. And then Knight into E8 is also threatened. Okay, white is winning. Two threats. Rook discovered check and also Knight into E8 is losing a piece. Okay, so you see a beautiful game, but for a majority of the part it was two bishops. And at one point he took bishop into F6. He gave the two bishop advantage and he converted one advantage into another. But basically, many things we can learn from this example. He beautifully coordinated his pieces well. So that h4, h5 was very important, cramping black on the king side. And then he did not exchange the knight. He played knight b6 when knight f6 exchange was offered. And when knight d7 exchange was offered, he came knight d7. Sorry, knight c4. Okay, so he kept the knight. And then when he found this plan f4, bishop f3, bishop h4. So this way, bishop f3 defended the h5 pawn, freeing the rook to come to the g file. And he did not choose e file or g file very early. Instead, there were clearly some bad pieces like bishop g2 in the position. So he improved that bad pieces first. And once he played f4, the bishop g2 was improved, but bishop g3 became bad. So he played bishop h4 to improve the other bishop also. So only after improving the two bishops, which were bad, he decided on which file to go for the rook. So till then, he kept the choice open. Okay, so these were some of the small important decisions he took. Which piece to exchange, where I should keep my pieces. Okay, and he was very alert. When d5 came, he immediately brought the knight, knight c6, knight e5. e5 square became weak. He brought the knight into the game. Okay, so this alertness and understanding the position well. So when you see chess, don't just see games. Try to understand the thinking process and how they are taking decisions, and try to take similar decisions in your games. Okay, so Nitish, over to you.
Okay. Hi everyone. So I think courage done is part of the job. So now we'll take the question answer, sir.
Yeah, I have already answered most of the questions by type chat. So I think people are seeing the chat messages. So I've almost answered all the questions.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
This is all for the session.
yeah. Thank you, everyone. Good night. And let's meet next week, same time.
Yeah. Let's meet same at same time.
Bye.
Bye, sir. So next session will be on the 17th August 2019. Timing will be the same and with Grandmaster RP Ramesh. So thank you for joining the session.
Bye bye.
Yeah, bye. Good night. Good night, sir. Good night, everyone.